What's happening? What's going on? What's good? Part of my presence YouTube channel. I want to discuss the whole situation with the Will Smith apology that came out. Now, before I continue, I do gotta say that I have a few videos about Will Smith and the dynamics between him and his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, and everything that goes on in their relationship and how it affects him and how it appears to people on the outside looking in. So definitely look at those videos as well to gain some type of insight as to where I'm getting all of this from and my opinions on this thing, okay? But the first thing I want to just point out is that when Will Smith comes on the screen, he looks emaciated. He looks like someone who hasn't eaten since he slapped Chris Rock, and that was back in February, or was it March? It was more than about 5 months ago. So it's crazy to see how he looks, because Will Smith is someone who has done a lot of hero movies, heroic movies where he's a lead character, and usually those roles require a masculine man, a man who has muscle and is built a certain way. So we've seen Will Smith look in his best shape in movies like Hancock, in movies like Independence Day, Hitch, so on and so forth. So to see him look the way he looked here, he looked like he lost a lot of weight. He looked like his head is a lot bigger than his body. Usually it happens when people lose a lot of weight, but their head is still fat. You also see that maybe it's just his clothes, because his clothes look a little bit baggier than normal, so maybe that just made him look like he's a lot skinnier, but it's really just his clothing. But I've never known Will Smith to dress in a way that is unflattering to his body type. So again, this is all weird to see. Now, another thing I want to say off the bat is that who asked for this apology? No one asked for this. I mean, we're about, what, 5-6 months removed from the incident. Why is he doing this now? Especially when he already apologized the next day after it happened. He apologized to Will Smith. He apologized to the Academy. He apologized to the previous award winners. He apologized to everybody. So I don't understand why he's doubling back again, spinning the block on the apologies and coming out with a more detailed version of this. But the interesting thing about this is that this apology comes out on his Will Smith YouTube channel. And to date, because this came out on the 29th of July, to date it has 3.2 million views. And if you know anything about YouTube and the monetization policy, he made a grip just off of this video alone. And this goes back to what I remember Will Smith saying when Jada Pinkett kind of called him out on that videotape that leaked, is that social media is his bread and butter. So no matter how you look at this, whether you consider this apology to be a failure or to be a success, clearly for him, part of the goal was to make money, and he achieved that goal just by putting this out at the spur of the moment, at least to us, right? Unbeknownst to us, this just comes out and drops like the Drake tape, and honestly, never mind. So he just did this out of the spur of the moment, and people have been eating this up, and everyone's talking about it, including myself. So as we get into this video, one thing that you notice is that the setting is more like a therapist setting. And the interesting thing that I noticed based off reading the comments later was that there is what I would say a perfectly placed bottle standing right beside Will Smith on the end table or on the side table. It's a blue bottle. And someone in the comment section recognized the bottle and pretty much said that it is the brand Just Water, which is owned by Will Smith's son, Jaden Smith. So in other words, this is a product placement. Okay, so not only is this being monetized and getting his pockets to be lined up with the views, but he's also helping his son gain exposure for his business venture. So regardless of what you think about this apology, there are underlying reasons why this is being done, and this goes back to the whole Jada Pinkett Smith and the red table talks that they do. A lot of the things that they do is about marketing, is about branding, is about how they could financially benefit off of the stories and the drama and the content that they are producing. And as I said in my previous video about the Will Smiths or the Smiths, is the fact that if you notice, everything that they do, there is never a lost opportunity to make a dollar from it. And this is what I'm seeing when I look at this apology video that no one asked for 5 to 6 months later. Now, the video was in a question and answer format, and the questions that are being asked, they're not really questions that most people didn't already know, or most people didn't already contemplate over that period of time when this all settled in. But what I found interesting about the first question, why didn't he apologize to Chris Rock? He did say that he felt, it was a fuzz, and everything was a blur. He wasn't really thinking that much about that particular situation, which is interesting for him to say. But again, I mean, I'm not going to take that away from him. But what I found interesting is the fact that he said that he tried to apologize to Chris Rock, and Chris Rock would not speak to him, and that Chris Rock wasn't ready to have a conversation with him. And he did say that at any point in time that Chris Rock is ready to have that conversation, he is open and ready and willing to have that conversation with him. So I felt that was admirable. That's good. But what I also thought that was interesting is the fact that he said that he had a good relationship with Tony Rock, and that as a result of this incident, the relationship will probably never be reconciled, and it'll never be able to go back to how it was before. Now, if you remember when the slap first happened, the narrative was that there was a long-standing beef with Chris Rock, and that Chris Rock had made attempts at Will Smith's wife, infidelity and the open marriage thing, and it wasn't taken very well, and there was beef there from before, and that's why Will Smith was already at a heightened attitude towards Chris Rock. At least that's what people were saying back then. So for Will Smith to come out and say that he had a great relationship with Tony Rock prior to all of this, and that they were all, buddies in Hollywood, is kind of weird to hear that, having heard of what people were saying 5 months ago. Now, the other question that was asked, which is probably the question that many people were wondering, is did Jada give him the green light to go and do what Will Smith did? And to Will Smith's amusement, he kind of laughed at it, and he pretty much said no, she didn't tell him to do that. She didn't put the battery in his back. He decided to do this on his own. It was all him. In other words, he's taken the brunt of all of the criticism. He doesn't want to share with anybody else. And while that's admirable, I do want to say this, because if you ever notice, we look back over the years or decades, whenever there's a scandal and someone has to come out and publicly apologize or get ahead of the story and kind of do some damage control, you usually see the family of the accused beside the man to show the emotional support and to show that he has the foundational backing of his family. We saw that with Kobe Bryant when he was accused. His wife stood by him. We saw that with many of the preachers back in the day. The wife is always beside the preacher. No matter if he's guilty or not, the wife is always there. The family is always there. The children are always there beside him. We've seen it with Bill Clinton and the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. Hillary Clinton was beside him and stood with him throughout the whole situation, even though everybody knew he was caught dead to rights, but she was still there. We've seen it with other situations too. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's the guy that used to do the videos in the car bashing men, and he was one of those guys that was a simp and pretty much always felt that women could do no wrong. I forget the guy's name, but when he was outed by Tasha X, when he did his apology tour, he had his wife beside him. He held on to his wife's hand tightly, and his wife was pretty much paraded around to show that his wife believed in him, still had his back, still supported him, and was still together with him through thick and thin. So it's odd that Will Smith, with all of the things that he's done to protect his family, to support his wife, to raise awareness regarding her alopecia and everything else, and him being a selfless husband and father and protector, it's odd that no one in his family to date has ever been seen with Will Smith publicly since the slap. If I look back and look at all of those appearances that were made, I don't think Will Smith has ever even been with his family since. They've almost publicly distanced themselves from him. right? Will Smith went on his sabbatical in India, but his family wasn't there. Jaden Smith, Willow, Jada Pinkett Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith's mother, none of them has been seen with Will Smith publicly since. And I know that Jada Pinkett had some type of project that she was promoting, and when she hit the red carpet, she went out with the rest of her family, sons, Will Smith. So they've made public appearances since that slap, but not with Will. And that's so odd, because you'd think, especially since this was something that was considered to be an attack on Will Smith's manhood and his family, you would think that his family would naturally want to be beside him to show support publicly, right? Because they're so public and they're so open on the Red Table Talks. It's hard to fathom that they wouldn't want to be beside him and show that support publicly, to show that they have his back and that nothing's going to break them apart, right? Or nothing's going to get in between them. But what we've seen is a public distancing from Will Smith. It's almost like they're trying to say, Will, you created this mess on your own. You decided to do this stupid thing on your own. You did not consult with us, so we're not going to publicly stand by you. You got yourself into this. You have to get your ass out. And that is what I believe the message is. And it's almost like they're punishing him by saying, look, you got to resolve this, and you're not going to put this stink on us. And the way how Will acts in this video, his staggered speech, the way how he's still caping for his wife, it's almost like he's been beaten down to the point where he's doing this apology video not necessarily to satisfy critics, not necessarily to satisfy Chris Rock and his kind of supporters, but he's almost doing this video to kind of satisfy his own wife and his own children, to say, look, I've done everything I possibly could to rectify the situation. When can I be seen with you guys again? When can I come home? This is what it almost seems like, right? It's so odd. I don't know. You tell me. Now, the most telling and the most candid part about this 5-minute apology is when Will Smith answers the question about whether or not he has anything to say to people who felt like he let them down. And this is when he actually probably said the most interesting part about the video, or maybe it was his most vulnerable point, is when he said that disappointing people is his central trauma, and how he hates letting people down, and that it hurts him psychologically and emotionally to know that he's not able to live up to people's expectations of him, or even to his own expectations. And this is an interesting point of view, because in my experience, and no, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a licensed therapist or any of that sort, I leave that to other people, but one thing that I do know is that people who fear letting people down, or who hold this kind of vision that their image matters so much, and what people think about you matters so much, usually those people end up being narcissists, number one, but also you find that people who care what other people think and they want to uphold a certain image, they often are control freaks, right? They're control freaks. And one of the things that they do is that they make sure that their image is upheld and is contrived, and it's being placed in the position where it even looks unnatural to some sorts. And that is one of the things that a lot of people have said about Will Smith and this whole social media run that he's been doing. Because if you look at some of his videos in the past, a lot of it is him climbing up the tallest mountain in Dubai, or the tallest building in Dubai, jumping off a cliff, parachuting, doing all these stunts, right? And the one thing that you got from it is that Will Smith is this all-powerful human being that's just nothing short of a godlike character, that he could do no wrong, that he has no flaws, or any challenges that he ever faces, he's able to overcome it, and he always succeeds. That's what you get from these videos that he puts out. And it almost makes you wonder, did he do those videos in order to uphold a certain image that he wants to portray of himself. And what does that say about his self-esteem? What does that say about him and how he feels about himself to the core? And it also leads me to question, because one of the things, especially with men, is that a lot of their self-worth, a lot of their image has to do with the love and the treatment that they get from home. And if you are married and you have a wife, usually if the wife is feeding into that ego, is feeding into your self-esteem, is feeding in to your self-worth as a man. And when I say feeding in, I mean feeding with positivity and love and reassurance and upliftment and all those things. You start to realize that you don't really need to uphold any type of image, because how you feel about yourself is your image, and you don't have to kind of put out this false narrative of yourself for everyone else to consume, so that you don't disappoint anyone, so that you don't have people questioning who you are, because you know who you are deep down in your soul, and everybody affirms that. But what we're noticing is that Will Smith probably has this issue where he needs to be much more larger than life than how he feels at home. He needs to be much more appreciated by strangers because he's not being appreciated at home. And this is what I get from all of this, because again, people who are control freaks, people who want to display a certain type of image, they are usually the most insecure people out there, right? So it really leads to part of what I said in previous videos about Will Smith and the dynamics between him and his wife, is that there seems to be some type of codependency that he has with her, and there's reason why he can't get away from her. And maybe it's vice versa too. Maybe she has a codependency with him as well. I don't know, but I don't think it's healthy. I think that they really need to get away from each other. Maybe that's part of what this is all about, because they haven't been seen since. But again, I have to say this. This whole apology is weird, and there's so much underneath the surface that we haven't even scratched yet, that he hasn't even revealed yet. But one thing that we do know was, based on that video that leaked about when Jada Pinkett was harassing him and Will Smith said that social media was his bread and butter, you could kind of see in that video that Will Smith is really a defeated man, a man who doesn't know how to handle things the proper way to get the proper results that he wants. And he's almost doing these things to kind of create this image of a great man, but he's not able to live up to that image. And that's probably why he overreacted and did what he did regarding the slap, which again, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I felt it back then when I saw it. I still feel the same way now after I see it again. I don't think that slap connected. I think that was a fake slap. I think that he pulled short. If you look at his footing, it didn't seem, it was odd footing, it was odd posture for someone who was irrational enough to get up on stage at a live television event where millions of people are watching, to go up on stage and to defend the honor of your wife. Usually you're not someone who's so calculated and so aware of your footing when you slap someone, and you definitely don't walk away not thinking that it's going to be a fight after that. It's such an odd placement of how his feet were, how far away he was from Chris Rock's positioning, leaning forward. Everything just seems so wildly unnatural. But again, I'm not going to tell you what to believe. That's just my opinion on it. But going back to the whole slap, if it is true and this is what he did, clearly you can see that the overreaction was a way to kind of regain the image that he wants to uphold of himself. And all of this can really lead to a lot of issues, as we're seeing now, that Will Smith is not able to, he's unraveling, right? And we're seeing that he's not able to control his image anymore, and that people are seeing through his facade. And maybe that is the reason for this apology video, because Chris Rock didn't ask for this, the public didn't ask for this, It's almost like he did this to kind of control the narrative. And what he says at the end is that he hopes to regain all of you guys' support in the future, and that hold on, things will change. It's almost like he is vying for that attention. He's vying to get back into that same spot, in that same position, where he's looked at like a god, like a man that can do no wrong, like your father, like your hero, all the things that this guy wanted to be. So we'll see what's to come of this. We'll see what's next in store for Will Smith and the whole Smith family. But that's just my opinion and my own take on this whole apology video. You let me know if you agree or disagree. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you want to raise me up, you can do that in the comment section. If you want to, leave 100 and you agree with me, do so as well too. But again, that's my take. And as I always say, next move, best move, part of my presence YouTube channel. Peace.